Hello and welcome to another fly tying session with your host Scott. In this session I'm going to be tying a buzzer pattern called the Vicar, and it's a fairly easy pattern, but I'm going to be putting my own take on it a little bit as well, which makes it just a little bit more complicated. Now the original pattern is tied on a straight shanked hook using flexi floss and a little bit of silver tinsel. The way I'm going to do it is slightly different. I'm going to do it on a curved hook, in this case a Camazon B100 in size 12, and to create the segments I'm going to be using a fine black wire by Vineyard. This is the stuff here, it's actually a copper wire that's been coated black, and then obviously we're going to stick with the silver tinsel because that's where the fly gets its name. This is a gauge 14 or 1/32 of an inch uni mylar, gold one side, silver the other, and we're going to be using the silver side. And for the thread we're going to be using a black thread by uni, and that's all there is to this pattern really. I have come up with another pattern completely using my imagination and following on with the theme of various clergymen, and that video will follow straight after this one. Hopefully you'll be interested enough to watch that one. So we're going to come in at the eye with the thread, and we're going to stop about there because I like to put the wire in straight away. Now we're going to tie our wire in. I'm going to tie it on the side of the hook. And then we're going to continue with the thread, and then we're going to guide the wire around the bend of the hook. This is really important to maintain the shape of the fly, that you follow the bend of the hook with the wire. We're going to take the thread all the way around, using touching turns of the thread, and we're going to stop right in the middle of the bend of the hook, about there, and we're going to let go of the wire now. We've guided it round, and we're going to take the thread back up, now I have got some black monofilament or nylon that I've used to try this pattern as well, but I found that you get a much better effect with the wire. So we're going to stick with the wire. Then I'm going to take the thread all the way back up to the eye, and then we're going to go back down, and then we're going to stop about there to create a taper in the body. And then we're going to stop about there. It's a little bit shorter where I'd normally put the thorax, maybe a little bit further back actually there. There we are. Normally I'd have the thorax starting probably about there, where my scissor points are pointing, but I need to leave a little bit of room for our silver tinsel. So we're going to wind our rib with our wire. Now the great thing about the wire is it grips better. Once it's bent into a shape, it really does stay there and it doesn't slip. That was the main problem I was having. But it also creates a really good segmented body when you apply the UV resin at just the right thickness. to tie the wire in, and as you tie the wire in, just bring the wire over so it's 90 degrees. Pull the thread tight and break away. You just want to see where that wire starts so you can avoid it with the tinsel. I take the thread up to about there. I'm going to get, it's only a short length of tinsel, you literally only need a couple of turns of it, so I'm going to tie it gold side up. So it's literally 1, 2, 3, and that's it. And then tie it in. Just check there's no gaps the other side. And that's the collar that gives the fly its name. Now I'm going to start tidying up and then building our thorax up. I just use turns of thread to build it up. You could tie in a little bit of floss and do it with that if you wanted to, but I feel I've got a bit more control with the tying thread. And that'll probably do us for the thorax there, that's that sort of size and shape. And we'll come in with the whip finish tool, and I like to do it on top of the thorax. There we are. Oops, I wasn't meant to cut it there, never mind. Let's trim that off. Hopefully we'll be able to cover that with a bit of UV resin now. So the resin that I'm going to use, I didn't mention this at the start of the pattern. This one's by Vineyard, it's a low viscosity resin, and unfortunately you just have to take my word for it because the label has literally worn off. I've used that much of it and I still haven't run out. So we're going to build up the thorax first with it, and the collar, actually, thinking about it. Unfortunately there's quite a lot of background noise tonight, so my apologies. I've had to have the skylights open. It's the start of our next heat wave, so I'm just going to apply a little bit of this excess resin onto the collar. And then we'll let gravity do the work there a little bit. And then hit it with our UV lamp. I should probably do it. Now the UV lamp I'm using is a rechargeable A300N by Dark Beam, and they're available on Amazon. It's a 365 nanometer bulb in it, which is a very energetic bulb. You normally get them as either 365 or 385. The vast majority are 385, but if you can get a 365, get that. It is better. And we're going to add our resin to the main body now. And we're literally going to do as thin a coat as we can get away with. And for a bit of extra control, I'm going to use the needle. Pop a bit on the other side. Just literally the lightest of smears. You want to maintain that segmented look. But if you do get too much, don't worry about it. You can just take it off again. You also want to try and seal the flying at the bottom. You can't see that. I'll try and show you now. At the bottom where the bend of the hook is. Because it's wire, you can literally run the needle across it as many times as you like without it slipping. I should have used wire to start with. I did first tie the pattern using the mono. So I'm just scraping off a little bit of the excess. I'll do it. And then we'll set that with the lamp. And then what I like to do, you might think it's a waste of time, but I prefer to do this if I can. Is I'm actually going to paint a thorax cover on using a black UV nail gel. And that's all it needs really. This one's by Miley, you can get cheaper ones than this. I didn't know at the time, unfortunately. I used to get them from work. So I'm just going to use our needle to shape the thorax cover. Try and keep it away from the collar. It's very hard to tell where there's UV nail polish and where there isn't. I need a very, very steady hand to do it properly. Let's see how that looks. Yep, that's fine. Now if I'll shine it from this side, you should be able to see why I've done that. You can quite clearly see the difference between the thorax cover and the body in colour. And that would probably do it. And then you just put a layer of varnish over the whole thing to finish it off, just to seal that finish in. So there we are. That is the Vicar. Thank you all very much for watching. Please like, share and subscribe. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye bye for now.